Let me welcome each and every one of you to chapel. We were here last week for our phenomenal convocation, and it was a wonderful time as we heard from our president, his vision not only for the seminary, but also for us here on the Hamilton campus. And so I want to add my welcome to each of you who are new students, who are new staff, who are new spouses, who are new children, who are new faculty, who are new administrators. I pray that God would meet you here and that God would bless you phenomenally in your experience and your time here. And then on the behalf of the office of the chapel, allow me to welcome you to the Walter C. Kaiser Jr. and Margaret Ruth Kaiser Chapel. This chapel has a name. We have shortened it to the Kaiser Chapel, and this chapel is one of 3 chapels on campus. We have the J. Christie Wilson Chapel a little down the hill, and we have the Retreat House Chapel a little further down the hill. And our office manages and watches over and prays over all 3 of these chapels. And we pray that you will utilize them, that they are worship spaces for you to use. They are yours. And so please let us know how we can continue to work with you and invite you to worship more on campus. In our office, we aim to call this campus, and it's an aspiration, so work with us, a living, learning, family-friendly, worshiping community. A living, learning, family-friendly, worshiping community. And I have to thank my predecessor, Dr. Gordon Isaac, who came up with the living, learning, worshiping community piece, and we have retained that. But in the last 3 years, we have been fighting hard to make this a family-friendly place. And so you notice that we have signs around for your young people who like to run around the hallways. Please bring them to chapel. There's a safe space right out in the hallway. We have a video monitor with audio there so you won't miss the chapel. There's some VIP stroller parking right over here on the left side of the organ for those strollers. Bring your families here so they can learn how to worship with you. And we like to reserve the back 2 rows of the chapel there for family with kids. And let me also share this with you, that we have an informal policy. It's informal because it has not been passed by the Board of Trustees, but we have an informal policy of no shushing little ones. Please. A quiet church or a quiet chapel is a dying church, a dying chapel. So we want the sounds of life. We want the sounds of untapped, unharnessed energy. And so we welcome those young people here, and we pray that you would help us to welcome them here. And in the event that you choose not to, you have the legs and the feet to move to a quieter place. Let them be. I also want to lead with an apology. If you have felt on this campus in the last week or so ostracized or disenfranchised, or not a whole member of this community, whether you are a spouse or a child, by any of the communication that has been coming forth, I want to apologize to you. Because in our aspiration to be a living, learning, family-friendly, worshiping community, we must lead by our actions, not just our words. And so I issue that apology to you because we want you to be whole, we want you to be heard, we want you to be appreciated, and we want you to be valued. You've heard me mention the office of the chapel. We have 3 phenomenal chapel assistants who are serving this year. They are in the persons of Danny Kim. Where's Danny? Danny's somewhere around. He's in the back. Amen. Give him some love there. Genevieve Pierre, over here. And our chief, the boss of the office, our lead chapel assistant, Kimberly Fick. I know that scream. It had to be Charles. They have been working tirelessly to make sure that our worship experience here on campus is not only expressive of the rich variety that we can express our adoration and praise for God, but it's also representative of our deep, broad, and wide diversity. And so we thank them for that vision and for their wisdom. I have a few minutes. One of the great joys of being a church planting founding pastor is I've learned how to preach an hour-long sermon in about 12 minutes. So let me catch my breath and let us go. This year we celebrate 50 years of God's faithfulness to this seminary. A vision that was brought from the Adoniram Judson Gordon vision, and a vision that was brought from the Russell-Conwell vision, to be joined together in a way that we are recovering with our new aspiration of one Gordon-Conwell. These two visions fit together. They're visions where we train women, people of color, and all who will come to be missionaries, counselors, pastors, nonprofit leaders, for ministry in the city, in the suburbs, in the rural areas, around the world. That vision here is a reflection of God's faithfulness on us. In fact, our homiletical passage is one that you know very well. It's the last words written by the gospel writer Matthew. Matthew 28:20, be. How's that? Matthew 28:20, be. And those words to the disciples was that, and be sure of this, I am with you always, even to the end of the age. Perhaps you like it better this way. And surely I am with you always, to the very end of the age. Perhaps you're a King Jimmy Red Letter person. And lo, I am with you always, even until the end of the world. I like ESV. And behold, I am with you always to the end of the age. Regardless of the translation, the spirit of the text remains that Jesus promises to be with us always. Jesus has been with us as a seminary for 50 years. And that's just a fragment of what the promise was. Always. See, God's faithfulness precedes our actions or our activities. It's God's faithfulness that allows us to do what we do. God's faithfulness to Gordon and Conwell, and now Gordon-Conwell, is the foundation by which we do the work that we do. I learned this almost 20 years ago when I first met the Reverend Dr. Michael E. Haynes. Many of you don't know that in addition to serving on the board of trustees at Gordon-Conwell, he was a trustee at Northeastern University. And so my interaction with him came from being the department chair of African American Studies. As Dr. Haynes came to a moment where he felt that Northeastern was expanding a little too much into what was previously called Lower Roxbury. Lower Roxbury was a part of Roxbury, Massachusetts, that was lower and upper. And like many institutions that needed to increase their footprint, they began buying property, and the property values went up, and people who lived there were unable to live there, and so the institution would purchase the property. And Dr. Haynes said, there's a rich legacy here. And you as an institution have a responsibility to tell the story. even if the people no longer reside here. And so he, through the course of a number of meetings, pressed on the institution to do what was called the Lower Roxbury Oral History Project. And we began going around with video cameras and audio recorders to find the tradition bearers and the cultural folks who were there, to find the folks whose family members had been there for a number of generations, and to learn their stories. He, of course, was one of those stories of Bayesian roots, but born and raised in Roxbury. And the numerous opportunities that he had to leave, he always stayed. And he would always tell folks that this is his city. This is where God placed him to serve. And as I learned more about him and spent more time with him, I realized that what on the outside seemed to be a phenomenally blessed life was a life filled with challenges. But it was his understanding that God's faithfulness to him preceded all that he was able to do. He did what he did because God first did what God first did. If I was in a Baptist church, I'd move to my second point here. God's faithfulness is an invitation to worship, to engage deeper in relationship. God did what God did as an invitation for us to say, whoa, if you love me that much, I need to spend more time with you. And because of what you did, I need to get to know you more. Because you clearly love me deeper than I know you. And so God's faithfulness is an invitation to worship. Think about this. 92 years of life, 70 years of ministry, 40 years of pastoring the same church. And yet, Dr. Haynes was one of the most humble, compassionate, and giving people you would ever meet. I remember one day, this was 2016, I had come from Northeastern to the seminary, and myself and Dr. Patrick Smith, my dear friend, we decided that we had to go see Dr. Haynes. We're building this institute for the study of the Black Christian experience, and we just needed to go get his blessing. So Patrick made the call. Dr. Haynes said, you guys come on over. I grabbed my video camera. I'm a trained ethnographer. It's all field work for me. I'm bringing my camera here. We about to sit with Dr. Haynes. I've done it before. I know that he's extremely long-winded. So if I have a chance of remembering anything that he said, I need to capture this. So we show up, we meet there. Hour one goes, we're having a good time. And by the way, we show up and Dr. Haynes is suited to the nines. I mean, just a clean suit, tie, shoes neatly polished, and we're sitting in his living room. And so we're sitting there and hour number one goes by. Hour number two goes by. Now, Patrick is with his phone here doing this. And I'm over to the side, I'm a pianist, so I can kind of feel where the keys are on my piano. So we're texting. Hour number three starts, and Patrick has to excuse himself because he has to go pick up his children. So he ushers us goodbye, and so now I'm like trying to text my wife, and I look down reading, and I have an appointment to go to. And I'm with Dr. Haynes. It's Dr. Haynes. So hour 4.5 gets there. And he has not missed a breath. He's telling us about Roxbury, telling us about Gordon-Conwell, telling us about just the city, telling us about all the people he's met, telling us about Billy Graham, telling us about Ockengay. I mean, just running all kinds of stuff. And so I finally say, Dr. Haynes, I'm so sorry. And I really have to go. And he starts laughing. And he wanted to see how much endurance we both had. And so we got a kick on that. And to this day, thank God the audio on the video was captured. The video, I'm still trying to recover the video. I mean, the camera was like, yo, what do you want me to do? Right? 4.5 hours, right? But God's faithfulness is an invitation to worship. One of the constant themes of that conversation was how much Dr. Haynes enjoyed the fellowship of believers and worshiping together. He would pop up to different churches, unannounced, and sit through the service and worship with folks. And then he had a deep and profound personal worship protocol that he did every day. And here's a man in the later years of his life would go on one day from being so deathly ill that we thought he was on his way out to the next day in his garden, which is one of his aspects of worship. That there was an aspect of nature that he felt really, really close with God when he had his hands in the soil. God's faithfulness is not contingent on our perfection, but it is an invitation for our excellence. It's not contingent on our perfection, but it is an invitation for our excellence. This seminary is not perfect. This campus is not perfect. Our brand new beloved president is not perfect. Our administrators, our faculty, our staff are not perfect. Our students, who we love dearly, our spouses, who we love dearly, our children, who we love dearly, are still not perfect. We together are not perfect. And yet, God is faithful to continue to invite us to join together with an aspiration towards excellence. Not perfection, excellence. So in our pursuit of excellence, let us strive to be one. Let us strive to be in relationship with one another. Let us strive to love one another actively and not passively. Let us strive to protect one another's dignity. Let us enjoy one another's presence. Let us value one another's contributions, and let us respect one another's personhood. Let us celebrate and honor what God has done while being active agents in what is to come. At the end of Matthew, Jesus commissions the disciples to go. Jesus uses strong language. He says, go, make, baptize, teach. And that strong language is backed up with a strong promise. I am with you always. So as you come, as you learn, as you study, and as you serve on this campus, approach these strong action verbs with the same tenacity that Jesus commissioned the disciples. Because Jesus offers the same strong promise to each of you. I am with you always. As our president has said, let us celebrate God's faithfulness over our beloved seminary for the past 50 years. But let us also agree that we are a catalyst for the next 50. Let us commit this year to initiate the next 50 years with worship and love. God bless you.